What's going on, champs and champets? It's FireMonkey here, and Fortnite's new Darth Vader voice, which is entirely AI built with Google's Gemini software and 11 Labs for the actual voice, has recently gone under fire and sparked a actual legal dispute. Now, this isn't something that, the community as a whole has done. It isn't something that, the voice of Darth Vader has done or his family, but instead, this is something that is actually from SAG-AFTRA. Now, for people who don't know what SAG-AFTRA is, it is a union that represents thousands of performers and has filed a charge recently over how the Darth Vader AI voice has been handled in-game. Now, to give you a little bit more of a background first before we go into all of the Darth Vader stuff in particular, what even is SAG-AFTRA, what is their whole entire point in all of this, and why do we need to talk about them? Well, simply put, SAG-AFTRA is actually the union for voice actors, stunt performers, broadcasters, singers, etc. that have over 160,000 professionals in it across film, TV, radio, etc. All of the different places you see media or people actually speaking to you. Heck, maybe even YouTube in the future, but I kind of doubt that right now. It's something that's kind of like out there for mainly, like the bigger places. It is something where SAG-AFTRA has already kind of been a part of, right? They make sure that the performers that are under them are treated fairly and protected in an industry that is constantly evolving, especially when it comes to AI. As you guys may or may not know, AI has become a massive part of debacle, online, everywhere in gaming, and people have been talking about whether they're fine with it, whether they're not, over and over again. We've seen this happen most recently with Call of Duty Black Ops 6, who's been having a lot of interesting talks about AI due to AI-generated art. Apparently, some of the voice actors for COD Black Ops 6 Zombies are leaving due to the whole art situation or AI in general, and not having their voices protected from being used in AI features in the future. And these voice actors want to be able to make sure they get paid for their work and that their voice is their own. But with all of that said, what happened with Fortnite that caused SAG-AFTRA to go after them? Well, Fortnite used the AI-generated voice for Darth Vader that we talked about. However, it had permission from Darth Vader's voice actor's family, aka James Earl Jones. They said, yeah, we're fine with this. We hope that having Darth Vader's voice, James Earl Jones's voice in Fortnite could actually be a nice way to keep Darth Vader's legacy and his legacy alive even after he has passed. And we have seen AI Darth Vader's voice being used in actual Disney shows before, so it's not like this is a new concept for the Darth Vader character. But the problem isn't actually the existence of AI, it's how the decision was made without talking to the SAG-AFTRA union first. For people who don't know, Epic Games uses a voice talent company that they own called Llama Productions for Fortnite, and it is a SAG-AFTRA signatory, meaning that it's supposed to negotiate terms for stuff like AI voices in the game before they actually use it. And the whole entire reason they have to negotiate these terms is so that they can go ahead and make sure that they're not replacing human work with AI work, and so that they can make sure of any conditions that, they want to have made so that, his voice is protected and can't say certain things we've already heard it say, doesn't actually happen once it comes to the game. Now, personally, I want to interject here and say one of the reasons I could see that they might be trying to get away with just doing the Darth Vader AI voice without actually contacting SAG-AFTRA is because of the fact that Fortnite itself isn't made by Llama Productions. That is a side company Epic Games uses. However, Fortnite is Epic Games, so maybe there's some type of loophole there where it's like technically, for actual voice actors, we're going through SAG-AFTRA, we're making sure all those marks are actually met properly, but for Fortnite itself, this side part, the big piece of it, that is just a game. That isn't a part of SAG-AFTRA. Epic Games isn't a part of it, only Llama Productions is, so you can see that being a potential loophole they actually end up using. But because of how this whole situation went down, the union, SAG-AFTRA, actually ended up saying that we must protect our right to bargain terms and conditions around uses of voice that replace the work of our members, so they have gone ahead and filed an unfair labor practice charge with the National Labor Relations Board, basically saying, hey, just because this is AI doesn't mean you can skip negotiating with us. Even though you got permission from his family and all that type of stuff, and he himself has said he's fine with AI voices of Darth Vader existing, this doesn't mean you can leave us out of here. You have to at least tell us what's going on here, and we have to approve of the conditions for how his voice can be used in your game. But a lot of people thought that this was focused on the fact that it's an AI voice, and it has led to a lot of discussion online over them themselves, SAG-AFTRA, saying they're fine with AI if the conditions are met properly. Meanwhile, they're going after an AI Darth Vader, which isn't really the main focus here. It's not the fact that it is AI, it's the fact that Epic Games did not contact SAG-AFTRA about this to begin with. Now, they have made it clear in the past that AI is here to stay, and we must protect our users and, performers to make sure it's used ethically and with proper contracts, so that we're not going to have to focus on people, losing their job as a voice actor because, oh, hey, we're just going to use your voice for AI, don't mind us. No conditions need to be met. Use the voice to say whatever you want it to say and make it your little puppet. And instead, SAG-AFTRA is like, listen, AI is going to be here, but we want to make sure that they're respected and their legacy isn't tarnished by how their voice or likeness is actually used. And of course, when it came to this whole situation, as I mentioned, some people online thought it was an overreaction, especially since Darth Vader's voice actor's family has actually approved the use of it. But this isn't about who said yes, it's about, once again, how are the union rules actually being followed. And it does make a interesting precedent now that could actually be a bad thing for the future. Let's say Epic Games does manage to get away with this, everything going on here with the whole entire AI voice and all that stuff, they managed to get away with it because sure, Llama Productions is actually a part of the whole SAG-AFTRA thing, but Epic Games themselves isn't. It could be a precedent that gets set in the future where companies can be a part of SAG-AFTRA, in a side company, but their main company that, is all pulled into that same video game decides, or movie, TV show, radio, whatever else, decides, hey, we're going to do it in AI voice, but you know what, this AI voice is going to be fine when I have to contact SAG-AFTRA because of the fact that technically our company isn't a part of SAG-AFTRA. Only the voice talent part of the company that we use is in here, meaning we technically have a plausibility free range area where we can do whatever we want to. And who's not to say that if companies can skip these negotiations now, who's to stop them from skipping over real voice actors' needs and concerns in the future in order to do these AI voice things? And of course, this isn't just about Fortnite, but it's about the future we want in entertainment in general. Do you want these voice actors to be able to be free to actually use their voice in the right terms that they want, or do you want them to end up becoming puppets in a way, right? Do you want them to have that freedom in order to say, hey, use my voice in AI or don't use it with the right, conditions met so that they can't say just random stuff? Or do you want to go ahead and make it so that nobody's protected in their job and you could just lose it tomorrow because, hey, the AI voice that you use is pretty funny and does a better job? But of course, I'll leave the main topic of discussion for you guys to answer in the comments down below. Do you think this is a case of the union SAG-AFTRA just doing its job, or is it an overstep in a new era of technology? And should AI be allowed to take voice roles without union negotiations to begin with? A lot of people I've seen talk about this online seem to be, pretty fine with it because if you think about it, right, it had the permission of Darth Vader's voice actor's family, and Darth Vader, the VO, like we mentioned earlier, has said himself he's fine with his voice being used for AI, so should this even have been an issue to begin with? Who really knows? And only time will tell what actually ends up going down with the whole situation. I mean, we've already seen Epic Games have a lot of weird situations going on recently. SAG-AFTRA, the whole entire battle with Apple and iOS, which we'll talk about more in tomorrow's video, and just a lot of stuff that actually, well, in the video 2 days from now, and just a lot of stuff that make it seem like, they're having a good time, but at the same time, Epic Games is having a few struggles behind the scenes with some of the things they're trying to do in order to, make a better tomorrow for Fortnite, or a more innovative version of Fortnite, or whatever else it might be. Until next time, however, I hope champs and hermits enjoyed today's video. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow with another upload. So until then, if I can get this elimination right here, hold up, peace out, bye!